Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to my channel Philosmos, where everything philosophical is discussed. My name is Fumani, and guys, if you're not aware of my YouTube channel, please subscribe, as you can see over there. And let's get straight into today's topic. What is spirit? Now, a lot of people have already existing ideas and preconceived notions on what spirit actually is. And this is, of course, heavily influenced by religion and spirituality. Basically, any doctrine that claims to have knowledge on God or knowledge on spirit. So, every piece of information that they have received about what spirit is filtered through these doctrines. So, in an attempt to be as neutral as possible, I have to basically remove religious doctrines for this moment in time and get straight down to the root of what this word actually is. So, the first approach will be through linguistics, because for spirit to exist within our minds, we first had to term it with language. So, getting down to the first definition of what we know as spirit, which is a Latin word spiritus. Okay, so spiritus, when you directly translate that, it means breath and life energy or life force. So let's pay attention, let's dive deeper into the breath aspect of it first. So most of us don't even understand breath. We just know that we breathe in and breathe out, and that is basically how we sustain our lives. But we don't see the deeper, intricate parts about breathing that once we know, then we can tap into infinity and assist us in living the life of our highest potential. So we know that breathing can literally alter states. So every particular emotional state that you could experience has a breathing pattern that is linked to it. I know, for example, that excitement has long, deep breaths within, going inhaling, and then short exhales, and then anger has a lot of sporadic inhalations and exhalations. So we can say that breathing, or shall I say to be more specific, our breathing patterns plays a crucial part in what states we find ourselves in within life. And notice the essential breathing pattern. It goes in and then it goes out. This seems like a basic rhythm and a basic cycle of life. Things going in and things going out, the bad and the good, the right and the wrong, the whole polarity of our existence is expressed within our breathing, which then echoes in the next portion or the next part of the definition of spirits, which is life force and life energy. So the life force and the life energy of the universe ultimately has particular ways of behaving. So we can access the nature of spirit via or through the nature of life, or to be more in particular, the nature of living organisms, which are expressions of life. So every living organism seems to follow some pattern, whether it's within the ecosystem or this is pertaining to the organisms individually. And every living organism within our plane of existence follows these patterns. So what are these patterns? These patterns are basically life, death, activity, rest, wakefulness, and sleep, breathing in and breathing out. So can you see that there's always this pattern of polarity playing behind existence and behind the life force and the life energy, to which we call spirit? Now, there's been an immense amount of confusion as to what the differences are between soul and spirit. Now, there's no universal understanding as to what the actual differences are, but the normal contemporary belief is that the soul, is basically the essence of who we are and our personality, the home to our passions and our desires And basically, this is the religious belief as well, that through incarnations, it passes through lifetimes having different experiences. But that, I'm not going to get too much into that. What I'm focusing on is a definition of the contemporary human understandings, that the soul is the seat of human personality. But in my humble, honest opinion, I think that the soul is akin to the mind. It's just we have glamorized it throughout human experiences. Because of the growth in religion and the growth to understand God, then we then superimposed the supernatural, the spiritual, the religious world into something that is actually quite natural. So the mind literally is synonymous to the soul, because the mind is what contains all the things that people define as the soul. So even in the contemporary understanding of religion, that the soul goes through lifetimes, why can it not be that the mind itself goes through different lives and different experiences? And we can attest this to Buddhism as well. They refer to it as the subtle mind, that basically follows all incarnations. But that's besides the point. This whole trinity of experience, the body, the mind, and then we have the spirit. A lot of people also say the body, the soul, and spirit. Can you see? So it's clear that the mind and the soul are interchangeable. But the spirit is different. The spirit is actually what gives rise to the soul. It's what gives rise, the platform for the soul to express itself. So the spirit, remember, is the life force and the breath within us, which is, when we deeply analyze it, is very neutral. Your breath is neutral. It is a tool to alter your state, and the life force energy itself is also neutral, because depending upon the soul that occupies it, depending upon the mind that occupies it, will then determine how this life force energy, this neutral energy, is utilized. So we all have the same spirit, the same life force coursing through our veins, or shall I say coursing through our bodies. We all have the same spirit, but not the same soul, because the soul can be seen as the individuated, localized expression of spirit. So spirit is not only something that is reserved for human beings. Spirit is something that permeates the universe. Now this is obviously going to cause a little bit of confusion on your side, because remember, the definition of spirit is breath and life force, or life energy. So how is it that life energy, life force, and breath is something that can exist in every single thing within the universe? Like a rock has breath, has life force and life energy. Like a table has that same quality as well. So of course it's going to create some confusion. So let me alleviate some of this confusion by borrowing some information from science and Albert Einstein as well, when he stated that E equals mc squared. Basically every mass can be converted into energy, so everything that is physical can be converted into an energy. So a rock has energy, that table has energy, and that energy permeates the whole universe. We can also look at it through physics in the law of conservation of energy, which states that the total energy of any isolated system remains constant. So this law basically means that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only transform or be transferred from one form to another. And essentially the same can be said about spirit. That spirit can never actually perish. That spirit merely changes forms. So that explains as to how spirit permeates everything within the universe, because energy permeates everything within the universe. So spirit and energy in this context can actually be interchangeable. But now you're probably asking yourself, okay, what about the definition of breath? Okay, the breath of life. Inanimate objects do not carry that property. So how is it that things that do not essentially breathe, how can they essentially carry spirit? To that I would answer in this way. Remember, breath is a tool to alter states. States that can only exist if there is a soul, a mind, that will determine through circumstances, through the immediate environment, which state it will assume. And this is true for animals as well, that when the environment, when the external world poses a particular threat or danger, that animal's breathing pattern will change to match that of fight or flight within their brain, so that they can deal with that situation from that particular state. Inanimate objects do not carry a mind, a soul, to deal with the immediate environment or to deal with circumstances. I mean, there is no necessity for a state to exist, but the composition, what that inanimate object is made out of, is still essentially spirit, which is the life energy and life force, although it doesn't exude the characteristic or behavior of breathing, but it still carries the life force and the life energy, which is intelligent. So this life force, this energy, within the religious context is called spirit, but within the scientific community, the closest thing that could be equivalent or synonymous to the term spirit is consciousness. So you can directly tap into your spirit at any given moment. In fact, you are spirit. I mean, it has always been said that we're not human beings having a spiritual experience, but we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And there's no way to distinguish my spirit from your spirit. Spirit is one. And that is where the New Age movement got the whole idea that we are one with God, because we share that same spirit. That spirit that permeates everything within the universe is permeating and coursing through your body as we speak right now. So that is my short definition of spirit. I could go into elaborate detail and explaining deeper and deeper and deeper as to what spirit actually is, but a bit at a time constraint. So I really hope that was informative, and please tell me what you think. Please like, please share, please subscribe. And to end it off, as I always end it off, guys, for those who seek no more, for in the present we find it all.